from the Penn Libraries.
Well, good afternoon. Sorry for the technical delay there. My name is Michael Walk, and I'd like to thank Anu for having us here this afternoon. It's been a while since, it's probably been a year and a half, 2 years since I've been here doing some of the presentations. I'm going to take about 10 minutes and kind of go through just real quick what iBooks Author is and what it's about and tell you a little story. And then I'm going to hand it over to our friends at Penn Dental for them to kind of give you a hands-on, hey, this is what we're doing with it live at UPenn. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Walk. I'm systems engineer with Apple. I've been with Apple for about 15 years. And this is one of the most fun pieces of software that I've gotten to play with. It's free for anybody who has a Mac. This is just a web page, great stuff. We have all kinds. I don't want to do the marketing stuff. But anyway, you can go to the website. It's as easy as dropping. You're all subject matter experts. It's as easy as dragging and dropping right in, and then being able to customize it any way you want, add some interactive stuff, built in for accessibility so we can provide this content to anyone, and then we can publish it out. We can either publish it as free or, if you'd like to, for profit. So you can publish that right through the iBooks store. So I want to start out with just a little movie. You've probably all seen this. This came from Channel 12. I don't know if we'll have. We won't have. I don't think we're going to have sound here. Let me see. No. But anyway, we know this particular movie. Everybody has seen at least this in some way, shape, or form. Why is it not playing here? It's showing audio. Oh, there we go. So there we go. So we've seen this. This is the president's speech regarding when Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. I'll just play the first couple seconds of it for you.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
So that's all I needed to get to there.
United States of America.
All right, so we know the rest of the speech. This is actually live. None of us were there, I don't think. I was there. But there was a fellow named Eddie Daub who was there. I'm going to talk a little bit about Eddie Daub. Eddie Daub was a businessman. He's actually from Philadelphia. Had a jewelry store up on 5th Street in the Olney section. He was 17 years old in 1941 when Pearl Harbor was bombed. Eddie had polio. So, unfortunately for Eddie, he was not able to go. All of his friends went and enlisted, and Marines, Navy, Air Force, Army, they all went to war. Eddie wasn't able to go, but he still wanted to contribute. So what he started doing was collecting all the letters, and it's not email back then. Letters took weeks to get back and forth. But he started collecting them, gathering them, writing back to all the guys and some of the gals, letting them know what was going on at home, sharing with everybody who was at home what was going on abroad and through all these. So Eddie hand-typed all of these letters in triplicate with actual typewriter and carbon paper. Everybody should have seen carbon paper, but that was his contribution, and he was well known all through Olney, Feltonville. He would go to the movie theaters on Saturdays and read the letters from his friends and buddies that were actually fighting in all the arenas of the war. And it was some pretty neat stuff. So where iBooks Author came in was some friends of Eddie started out and said, hey, and here's kind of Eddie's story. And I'm showing you the actual iBook. I can actually pass it around on this one. And you can just take a look at what the iBook is. So this is just an interactive book. What someone did was take all of Eddie's handwritten, hand-typed letters and digitize them and put them. So it's content that is now digital, and they repurposed that and built this iBook. They're very interactive, and you'll see as it comes around. What he wasn't very good at is with this sic erat scriptum. Sic, I had Latin in high school. I went to the prep and we had 4 years of Latin, but we take for granted that there's a backspace key on our keyboard. So autocorrect will fix our typos. CCing people will include them in mass distribution. That's expected. It's instant communication. Back when Eddie was typing this, he actually typed these by hand with actual carbon paper twice. Same letter twice, so he had 6 copies. And distributed them. Well, he was not a very good speller. He was not a very good typist. He liked to drink. He liked to drink a lot. He was not politically correct. The world was not politically correct back then in 1942. But what the author did was kept that authenticity and didn't put the sic after the sic editor's mark after every thing. And that kind of tells the story to make it authentic and make it feel like it was actually Eddie telling the story. So it's broken down into about 5 chapters or 6 chapters, and this is just a breakdown of some of the letters that they had from Eddie. Again, stricken from polio, wasn't able to contribute militarily, but his job was to take those letters. So what the person did was took his original letters and digitized them. So we have, his letter, "Dear kids, it's only 16 days till you," hey, this is kind of appropriate, only 16 days to fill out all the income tax. I've not even started. We're getting close to that. It's coming up on April 15th. Of course, this is from 1943. What the author also did was take the original and put the PDF, so you can actually see there's Eddie's actual letter that was typed in 1943 on February 28th. So some neat stuff. Again, they put in some keywords or key events on the side, and they took events from his letter, which were flat and just binder, and they added things. Here's the wax, the 150,000 American women who contributed to the war effort, and he made interactive galleries so they could see some of the things that were going on. This was not anything that Eddie could have imagined back in 1943. But again, different chapters, different pictures that we now have access to, and it's content that we can put together and pull together and put into a nice format. Well, the interesting part about this book is the author actually shared with me the iBooks author file. So here you can kind of see, and again, we're going to see a little bit more. But they took the picture, they dragged it in, they gave the book a title, they dragged that video in of, and that's from Channel 12, WHYY, authorized the author to add that video in there. They put the chapter, they had literally just typed this document in, hand typed it. It could have been brought in from Word, copy and pasted from Word or Excel or PowerPoint, any of those things. But this is the actual file that generated the book. This is the iBooks author file that generated that book that's being passed around. And it's nothing more than you would do in Word or Pages as you kind of lay things out. But it adds the extra step of the interactivity. So being able to put the vintage radio operator training video right into the book. My niece calls these Harry Potter books because this is something that's live in a book that you can look at on your iPad or on your Mac. So again, just scrolling down through some of the chapters, it's very easy to lay out. When we do a new iBooks author project, we give you a template to start out with. So you can pick that template. You can customize the templates for yourself and use your own templates. But very quick and easy to get started. Here's that Morse code.
A radio man on board aboard a task force flagship is handed a tactical signal by the communications officer.
This is high tech back then.
Of the division.
So in any
As a
case,
result of this signal, the entire
we'll stop that video. The entire fleet was getting that message. It's almost as fast as the internet today. As we scroll down through there, we see some of the really cool stuff that the author was able to add in and expand upon from these typewritten sheets. What I wanted to share was a lot of people get very hesitant. Hey, I can't do this. How do I get started? I'm overwhelmed. It's really simple to get started. You're going to see some of that. But what I wanted to show you was how simple it was to get started. Because the author happens to be me. And these are Eddie's Weeklies. So again, I have the hand well, these are copies of the hand-typed original letters. Eddie was a good friend of my family and Hopkins' family. And the pages that you see that are marked with lots of scribble and cross-outs, those are drinking. Following, those are hungover days. But what we did, my team, I had some buddies and I worked on this. We took these, we digitized them all. We each selected an era. We broke it down, and there were 7 of us on the team. We broke it down into 7 eras, early 1943, late 1943, etc. And we retyped exactly what Eddie had. We tried OCR, it didn't work because you can't OCR this. And it wanted to spell check everything, and Eddie was a horrible speller. And that's kind of all in what we put in as the epilogue of how we did that. So as a result of doing this whole project, and we spent about 40 hours doing this, we actually won second place to Mike Walk and team for Eddie's Weeklies. And I use that as an example. I like to tell a story about this. You know, I can go through slides and say, oh yeah, here's how it works and here's how you do it. This is far more compelling. You already have this content. You're already a subject matter experts in whatever subject matter you have. You have PowerPoint presentations, you have photographs, you have movies, you have images, you have your contact, you have your syllabus or syllabi. You have all that content. All this tool allows you to do is organize that into a nice interactive book, and it allows you to either publish it personally as your own author and distribute it yourself, or to publish it through iTunes iBook store, and either for free or for profit if you'd like. So that's my little 10-minute spiel about Eddie's Weeklies, and I don't want to take up the time. I can stay as long afterward as we need if you have questions about Eddie's Weeklies or how we put this together. I want to turn it over to Maria and have her tell you about what they're doing right now at Penn Dentistry with iBooks Author. Maria. Oh, yes, there you go. Hold on, put it in there, and there you go.
Do you need audio, Maria?
No, I don't.
We also have audio there if needed, so you can just plug that in if you need. Okay, there you go.
So my name is Maria Mejia. I'm the Director of Online Education and Learning Technologies at Penn Dental Medicine on 40th Street. And I'd also like to introduce my colleague, Jaiwei Wu, who is our Associate Director of Online Curriculum Design. Many of you in this room know him. So I've been at Penn for about 5.5, going on 6 years, but our office has only existed for, let's see, October, November, December, January, February, March, 6 months. So during that 6-month period, our focus has been trying to develop a number of sort of proof of concept that we can show faculty how to incorporate technology mediate learning into their classroom, and specifically how to adopt the flipped classroom methodology. So what we're going to talk about today is, I'd like to take you through our student experience. I wish I had iPads for everyone, but I'll show you what our students see. I'll talk a bit about the workflow for sharing iBooks. I'm sure some of you might be wondering, you know, how do you share an iBook if you don't have an Apple device? And Jaiwei's going to talk about the working with faculty experience and how easy, if our faculty can do it, with a subject as, let's say, as challenging as dentistry, then anybody can do it. So, and I'll say too, have your devices ready, your iPads, iPhones, whatever mobile device you have, because we do have some polling involved and there'll be a quiz at the end. So, we won't grade you, but, but you'll get bragging rights. All right. So when we first started with iBooks, this will just take a couple of seconds to come up. When we first started with iBooks, you know, we kind of had the same question of, we're wondering how much work it's going to take. It's one thing for us to spend 40 or 50 or 60 hours on a book or even more, It's another thing when you ask a faculty member who already has competing interests on their time. They might be teaching, they might have research interests. In our case, many of them have a private practice that they manage, so time is really at a premium. So one thing I'll say about our environment too, what you should know about dentistry or dental school is that the first 2 years, your students are in class pretty much from 8 to 5, and then in the evening, sometimes late into the evening, 10, 11, midnight, and sometimes after midnight, they're working in the lab on their hand skills. So in order to work on lab exercises without a faculty member present, our faculty are already producing these 500-page laboratory manuals that just contain exercises with pictures and text on what to do. Sort of picture it as a cookbook, if you will. Are we good to go? All right, so while we're waiting for our poll to come up, I guess the general question I want to ask to everyone is, what kind of content are you currently sharing with your students, or the kind of content that you would like to share with your students? Don't be shy.
Training stuff, training manuals, training content.
So print or?
Yeah, a lot of like how to use, because we have a lot of plotters and kind of complicated printing systems, so stuff like that.
Okay. Is anyone else, I'm sure other people are sharing media, but what kind of content are you sharing with them? Oh, perfect. So in our case, we're sharing a lot of video, showing, it's one thing to read a manual, but it's another thing. Dentistry itself is an apprentice-based profession. So oftentimes, you'll have faculty that work one-on-one with the student, showing them how to make a denture or how to make some sort of appliance for your mouth. So I'll just give this another 30 seconds. So the iBook became a really attractive, solution for us, because it would allow us to, still be able to provide a lab manual or some sort of text to our students and incorporate the ways in which that they're already learning their craft. So for us, that would mean video, that would mean images. The iBook has the added benefit of being able to create interactive images where you can drill down, perhaps I'll show you this in a second, but if you're looking at a dental instrument, or perhaps two dental instruments, and they look alike to a lay viewer, how can you tell the difference? So the iBook really allowed us to kind of extend that apprenticeship experience, if you will. Okay. So then the next question becomes, given all that the iBook can do and the different types of media you can incorporate, we're interested to know what are some of the, adjectives that come to mind. I'll tell you, in our case, we were very hesitant and immediately thought, we're 2 FTE, we don't have the staff to take on huge complex projects. So, for me, the concern was, how many resources are we going to have to dedicate? We also only have 2 GAs. Are they going to be able to take on some of the production and manage school at the same time? So I'll just give it a couple more seconds here. Yep. Time consuming, intense. But what I can tell you is, once you get going, it's very easy to get started. So one tip that we tell our faculty is focus on minimum viable product. And by that, I mean a product that is good enough for your students to use, but maybe not 100% perfect. So yes, an iBook you can embed 3D objects, you can embed video, you can embed text or enhance your text so that you can zoom in and have it contain captions. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with it, but really try to focus on what's the minimum you need to have a viable product to your student out the door. So in our case, it was linking to our existing video library, it was text and high quality images. All right, so since I don't have iPads for everyone, I just want to give you a guided walkthrough. So the dental school has a tablet program in place, and it's something that we've been piloting since last August. And we started off with our first year students. And by default, what you're looking at is the home screen of what every first, second, and third year dental student will have by the end of the year. So you can see we've pre-populated iTunes U and iBooks by default, so there is no, we try to level the playing field. So that's one way of kind of maximizing your reach. And if you don't have the luxury of having a tablet program in place, you can still export your iBooks in PDF format. So one of the challenges we had when we were first exploring iBooks was we kind of had a dilemma. I had the misconception that once you create an iBook, it has to be public. Well, our faculty don't always want to make their content public unless they're working with a publisher or unless it's somehow benefiting their academic career, which is completely understandable. But I learned from Mike that iTunes U now has a course manager, and by default, any courses that are set up in Course Manager are private. If you want to make them public, you can, but once you do that, you can't revert back to a private structure. Now, this was really kind of a boon for us because we were finally able to say to our faculty, anything you can create is only going to be limited to people that are enrolled in your course. So I'll show you what that looks like. So this is just, it's a pretty basic interface. If you want to create a new course, you just open up the plus like you would on any other Apple interface and fill out fields about your course. So your course name, your instructor, and a brief description on what the course is about. So we're going to take a look at restorative dentistry. This is a 2-year-long course, and to date, it's our largest manual, topping out at, what, 500 pages, something like that, and it's 2 books. So you'll notice, too, there's an Enroll Code that I kind of have highlighted for you. So what the Enroll Code does is anyone with that, it's a URL that iTunes U creates, anyone with that URL can download your course. And if you find that too many people are accessing your course, you can always change the enrollment code on the fly. It won't impact anyone who's downloaded your book. Oh, thank you. So if you go ahead and populate the, it's a pretty long URL. So I'm going to show you the way Apple recommends. Sorry, Mike. I'll show you the way Apple recommends, and then I'll show you kind of what we did. So you can ask your students to go ahead and type in this URL. iTunes will open, and you'll want them to go ahead and hit the plus sign so that they're prompted for the enrollment code. And then that's what they should see. So in iTunes U, you'll see the course start to load. Now, from experience, I can tell you that this will work if you give your students instructions ahead of time. Not everyone reads their Canvas announcements, not everyone reads their email. So, and if you're trying to deploy an iBook on the first day of class in a lecture hall setting, things are going to get really unwieldy quickly. So what we recommend is save yourself time and create a shortened URL that contains the enrollment code. It makes it literally, what happens is they click on the code, iTunes U will open, they hit the agree button, and then the course will load. So all the fields that you entered in Course Manager, iTunes U comes out and spits it out in a really nice, pretty UI, easy to read UI. So your navigation is here on the left and on the bottom. I'm going to talk a bit about info and materials. We're currently not using the bottom 2, posts and notes, because Canvas, it's a little bit redundant to Canvas, but you're welcome to use it. So this is Dr. Maggio. She is the course director for the General Restorative course. This is the same blurb that appears inside the iBook, the same one that appears in Canvas under syllabus, as well as in our internal curriculum management tool. And you can embed hyperlinks as well if you want to include some sort of link to a video or something like that. So the nice thing about materials is you can put whatever you want in here. It's not limited to your iBook. So what we wanted to do, we were very concerned about the student experience. So we wanted one-stop shopping for the iBook, and links to the Canvas course and links to some of the other tools that we're using. So when you have books or content that's ready to download, you'll see the little cloud, and you all are probably familiar with the progress button. And when you're done, your iBook will appear. So this is a shot of Dr. Maggio's cover page of her book. So again, really basic. Actually, I'm going to go back a previous slide. So for some really basic elements here, all we have are pre-existing images. We have text and maybe a logo, but it's really fundamentally two items. She didn't have to do anything particularly fancy to come out with a high quality product. And if we look at the same thing, the chapter, again, the skills that she really needed: how to embed an image, how to embed the text, and perhaps laying out. And again, we see that same trend continue on. This is a shot of one of the exercises. Could we have a higher quality image here? Sure. Maybe that's a version 2.0 of her book when we do it next year. But still same skill set, images and text. So another really attractive feature of the iBook that we liked was table of contents are automatically generated. If, for those of you who are working in a field that involves a lot of technical terms or a lot of jargon, you can take advantage of the glossary, which is what she did. When you go to dental school, there's a whole, you learn all sorts of names for teeth. And for those of you who might have, like us, who might already have a pre-existing video library, you don't necessarily have to embed those images here, but you can include an image and a reference that says, okay, if you're interested in watching this particular exercise, you can link out to that system. And the reason why we have MediaSite, and the reason why we did that is we want to be able to track the learner's behavior. So what parts of the video are they repeating and having trouble with? Now, if we look again at strictly the skills that Dr. Maggio needed to put this together, we're talking images, the ability to insert a hyperlink, and just text. So again, really basic stuff. And we'll give you a checklist showing you the minimum you need to know to put together an iBook. Another advantage, as far as students go, you can highlight just as you would on a Kindle. You can keep track of all your notes. So when Dr. Maggio goes to revise her course next year, the student doesn't lose any of their notes or any of their annotations. They become incorporated into the new version. So again, just a quick shot of what the glossary looks like. It's searchable, which is really handy, or students like that. And you can incorporate whatever you want here. In this case, following the minimum viable product, all we did was work with text. So in terms of minimum you need to know how to create your book title and cover. And you can even almost take that off the list, because the best thing to do is to provide your faculty members with a template. How to insert text, pretty basic, or how to embed a video if you're doing an introductory video. Creating a chapter, and that really consists of 4 tasks: adding pages, adding a section, adding a hyperlink, glossary terms, and an interactive image. And if you really want to get fancy, if you have, again, a system that you already have in place that keeps track of your students' behavior, knowing how to access that will help you. So for all the advantages of the iBook, just keep in mind that the trade-off is once you embed the content in your book, you lose the ability to track exactly what that student is doing. And then I shouldn't position it as a disadvantage, but it's a consideration you want to be aware of. And with that, turn it over to Joey.
Okay. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
So now I'm going to introduce our first iBook. at dental school. So this one is Dr. Joe. I worked with Dr. Joe last September, and we authored the first preclinical iBook in the world. So it's really exciting because originally they have their own PDF file for their clinical manual, but it's really troublesome because students, they have to print it out. And sometimes, as you can see, there are some like the color pictures, like this, the instrument. The instrument means really important to them, and they have to know it really well. But if you print it in black and white, students cannot see it clearly. But in iBook, not only does it in color, but you can also do interactive image. So for this one, so this is the endodontic preclinical manual. As we may know, endodontic means your root canal. So sometimes, so they're always drilling your tooth. So put this in your tooth and clean out the root canal so that you can be really healthy and happy. So the tip of this instrument is really, really important. And students have to know the width and the length of this instrument. So what if Dr. Joe wants to emphasize this part of the instrument? No way for him to do it with the paper version. But with the iBook, we can do this easily. So how to work with faculty? First, we have to know what their need is. I know that Dr. Joe told me there's so many limitations that he wants to know, but he cannot do it because of the limit of the knowledge of technology he knows. But I know everything that I can help him. So I talked to him, and we try to embed an interactive image in iBook. Also, we put video. So in the past, we always have like the really text-heavy preclinical manual, and students only read it, but they cannot perceive, they cannot understand it, they cannot comprehend the knowledge in the manual. However, today we embed a video in the iBook, so students can read it along with the video. So originally, this video is like 10 minutes long, but we cut it, so this one is about 1 minute. And again, this is our minimum viable product. So it's not perfect. It's not perfect. But we keep iterating, we keep refining our iBook. We're trying to make it perfect.
I like it because root canal is now a minute long.
And it's really interesting because one day my coworker came to my office and he said, "What is this?" I said, "What?" He said, "My dentist did the same thing to my tooth this morning." And I said, "Okay, so this is called a tooth morphology and assess preparation." So it's really clear to students. And the next, how we work with our faculty member. We provide them the template. So I appreciate that Mike shows us the template of iBooks so we can follow, but as faculty member, they have to do research. They have to teach. Some of them, they do faculty practice. They don't really have time to explore everything. Because I also share the lynda.com URL with them. I say, you can reserve a spot from Van Peel Library. And then every day you have to do this and go to lynda.com. Lynda.com is good. I personally, I did lynda.com every day. I do lynda.com every day. So, like here, lynda.com is where I learned how to do iBook. It took me 80 hours to finish the first iBook. So I told my faculty member, like, you can go to lynda.com and click on iBook Author Essential Training and watch it like 6 hours and you can do it. And he said, no way. No way. So what I did is I shared the template with them. I created a portrait template and the other is the horror. And I did the cover for them. So they can just change the name here. And then the structure is like, I told them you have to follow the structure like chapter, session, and page. So they understand how to do that. They just copy the content from their existing file. into iBook and paste it on iBook. That's it. So we worked with the professor yesterday. She has a 500 pages manual. And there's so many tables she wants to import into iBook. And she said, well, should I just like create from scratch again? I said, no way, you cannot do this. Well, that will be like 100 hours of work. So we imported it into Keynote, because Keynote knows how iBook talks. And Keynote will talk to iBook, so we copy the content from Keynote and paste it on Keynote. So we always figure the way out for our faculty so that they can really easily and do their own work on their own. So I think there's another one. Yep, this is another template I provide to our faculty member. So I will leave that blank so they can just like insert any image they like. And then the topic, this is the page, and they can just right-click on it and click a page or add session to their iBook. So it's really easy and straightforward to them. So this is, and I told them if you want to insert a video, you just take this out, or you click on inspector, and then there is an I can find it now. But if you double click on this, there's a toolbar that you can use.
What is, you're not on the video itself. You're not,
Oh,
there.
okay. Click on this one. Yeah, sorry about that. I cannot find it now. But now our faculty, so Dr. Maggio, she authored her own iBook, 2 iBooks. It's totally like 1,000 pages on her own over the weekend. Yeah, and she said she feels bad for her husband because.
And I will emphasize something that you pointed out. For Eddie's Weeklies, it was a solid 40 hours of work to do that the first time. Now that I have a template for that, I can crank those pages out easy. Same thing, and that's why it's so important that the faculty and staff at Penn Dental have that template already done for them. All they're doing is dragging their content in.
And then I would like to show you this video. This is our student. She's working at lab. She no longer uses a hard copy manual, but she's using iPad with iBooks.
Yes.
She's working on the GRD, the lab, and then she's navigating on the iBooks. It's pretty decent. It's pretty nice because we saved $5,000 on our printing money, at least, every year.
So that's with only 2 books being
Yes.
placed in. So the more, that would just grow, correct?
Yeah, so
3, I'm sorry, 3, Dr. Joe 2.
now we have 5. actually.
5, up to 5.
Yes.
Is the format of the book the same as the printed hard copy, or are you doing anything to help facilitate it being online in terms of reading and understanding the material?
So you can do the similar format. You can do with the similar format, the portrait format. It's not necessary for you to do like the horizontal format. So you can do the portrait format, and it will be easier. But if you want to do something different, because take this for example. Now I'm looking for an electronic car. Do you want to get a Nissan Leaf, or do you want to get a Prius, or do you want to get an e-Golf?
Or a Tesla.
A Tesla. Tesla looks really techy, and it looks like if you want to do your iBook like Tesla or Nissan Leaf, it will look like an iBook, online iBook. Maybe your student cannot get familiar with it, and they will feel uncomfortable using it. But if you do something like e-Golf, Volkswagen e-Golf, it looks like the car that you are driving every day.
So you're basically following their format of their book that's already there. You're not changing it or anything. You're just following what they have.
Yes and no. With Dr. Joe's iBook, I totally do the brand new one.
Oh, okay.
But with Dr. Maggio, she said, I have no time laying out for the entire book. So she just copied and pasted.
Right.
And
with-
students understand that.
And with Dr. Apps, because of the length of her iBook, we are editing it first
Okay.
before we convert.
Okay.
So there's a table, the table that Joey was talking about. If you were to lay it out in an iBook, it would actually take up 40 pages. But that same content exists in Canvas, exists in our curriculum management tool, so there's no reason for her to have it. So we are going through and editing
Okay.
first. So it really depends on what your faculty member wants to do.
And another point, so when we did Eddie's weeklies, this I think there's 294 actual pages of this. They happen to be on 8.5 by 14. It was at one point bound nicely with a cardstock cover and back. It cost us about $112 for each of these print ones. We spent about another $112 just having Staples digitize all of this. And the first version of Eddie's Week, because we wanted to send it out to all of his nieces and nephews that we're still in contact with, and a bunch of the family members, it was just the scanned copies, PDF format, each one was a page, and that was the original iBook. And we got it out so everybody could read the letters. So that was just, hey, we're just duplicating this digitally.
Right.
Then we got, the idea got stuck in our head that, wow, we can add all this interactivity and the pictures and the links and what was going on outside of that, and it's just exploded. So you can start out just duplicating exactly what you already have. And then as you start to see, and maybe none of your students like it, we don't want it. Great, you tried, and let's pick a different project. Or they say, wow, this is great, what about doing this? Can we try this? And you start to get these interactive ideas.
Right. And sometimes I will tell my faculty member like you just dump everything into iBook, and I will do the instructional design afterward.
Oh, okay.
Because this is what I'm paid for.
Yeah.
So how
Work.
There's a
easy
trick,
is it,
there's a trick.
how
Yes.
easy is it to rearrange once
It's,
you?
it's pretty easy,
really
just
easy.
like what you use in your Word document.
Okay, so you don't have to be stuck with the initial set.
It's silly easy,
And you
I
can
said.
copy and
But-
paste from one item
but-
to another?
Yeah.
There is a but. But you have to figure the way out to find your answer.
Right.
Yeah. So I always go to lynda.com or Google, trying to find the answer and communicate with our faculty members. So people will ask me like, so is iBook the silver bullet for student or for school to deliver your content? I will say yes and no, because the first one although we can embed HTML5 code into iBook, there is no way for us to integrate Canvas analytic tool with iBook. Nor there is no analytic tool for iBook either. So you cannot track your learning behavior from your user. For here is our student. And the other one is interactive polling. You cannot do it while they're reading the book. So again, statistics data, we cannot get it.
But you could link from your iBook to pull everywhere.
And that's what you're doing
Correct.
with to the
Yeah.
analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
that's why we added that minimum need to know, as long as you know how to add a hyperlink.
And you can use whatever's on the web.
Yeah, exactly.
And then iBook is not readable on Windows PC, nor on your Kindle. So so because of this, we exported it in a PDF format. But you lose the interactive part. Every interactive part, you lose it. And with the video, you cannot just embed on it. You have to embed a hyperlink. And when they click on it, it will redirect you to the browser. Yep.
But when you export from the iBook to a PDF, does it keep your links?
It
Yes.
keeps your links.
Yes.
So as long as you embed the video and put underneath a direct link to the video also,
Right.
then it will work.
Yeah, I can show you how it looks on my iPad.
So what we'll encourage is, just like I showed you at the beginning, just a little film reel icon that says,
Link to
whenever
the-
you see that, as long as you're consistent, your students will know where to go.
So this is my library. This one is iBook. You can see all the interactive part. And the other one This one is in PDF format. So it looks like your ebook. But if I go to the image, the interactive image, it show you. I click on it, nothing happened because it's purely an image. And then if you go to the movie, you have to insert an URL along with the movie, and you click on it, you will open your Safari.
So now we have a small quiz for you, because we like to test out our audience, so go ahead and break out your phones again. So, we talked a bit about some of the best ways to distribute your iBook to students. So, the best way to distribute an iBook to students are by sharing a shortened URL containing the enrollment code or sharing a PDF in Canvas. True or false? So we'll let that run for a minute. Yeah, it's working. So we've got about 6 results.
Oh, that's an A or B?
Yeah.
All right. I just typed in true. Doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, of course, that's true. There are other ways that you can distribute an iBook, but by far, using iTunes U, the course manager, or sharing it through Canvas is the easiest way. Dental courses are cohorted, so we're usually working with a minimum of either 120 students or max of 155 students at a time in one session. So these two are proven to work with large crowds.
But we did try this before, because last October, we didn't get a chance to play around with iTunes U. Because when I contact a representative from iTunes U, and they told me, no, you cannot open your private course. And then we talked to our ISC, we met in Mayumi, Rab on campus, and we did a private course. So before that, I tried to use Penbox, and don't try that ever. Because every file you upload on Box, it will be encrypted. So even your student downloaded from Box, the file is encrypted, and there's no way for them to open it.
And don't try to host it off a web server. We tried that too. It crashed the web server because the dental files themselves, 400 or 500 pages at a time. If you have, 50 meg, 60, 70 meg file times hundreds of students.
For our endos book is 500 megabytes. So I ended up giving away my flash drive to the student, and they install their iBook on their laptop.
Are you able to share it through a USB? Does that work?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Yes.
Yeah, you can share it directly one by one, and you can even, technically with a smaller iBook, you can share it off a web server, but we don't recommend it.
But I feel bad because my title is online education. So.
No manual. Right. So, if, let's say you're working in Course Manager and oops, you all of a sudden make your course private, will permissions be there to allow you to reset it back to private? It looks like we've got a good version. Correct?
Right.
We have not done this, but we just wanted to make sure everyone was listening. And it's actually a process within, we didn't go over it, but within Course Manager, you don't just accidentally make something private. There is a kind of a process you would have to go through with ISC to make it live. Want to do the next one?
Yep. So the next question is what type of media should not be embedded directly into an iBook? And you can choose up to 2 options.
So quizzes for sure. I mean, you can embed quizzes into iBooks, but
Especially we figure out there is a third-party company who is doing this. So we can embed them like the widget into our iBook. And after a student finish their assignment or quiz or homework, the system will send an email to our faculty member to notify them your student just finished their homework. However, I got some pushback from our faculty member. So one of our faculty, he said, no, I don't want to get another email from anywhere.
plus I mean, there's already so much power that you get within the analytics within Canvas. You can see how long the students took, whether multiple attempts occurred. You can see the breakdown of each question and how well students responded to it. So while you can embed a quiz, we recommend just linking out to Canvas.
And the reason why we bring out this question is because if your students are not only on the Mac platform, you eventually have to export your iBook in PDF format.
That's true.
And then you have to think about this, because every time you export it in PDF format, you lose interactive quiz, you lose interactive image, you lose your video, unless you embed a URL on it, and you definitely lose your 3D objects. You definitely lose your keynote presentation on it.
And it's interesting to see 3D objects scored pretty high. We haven't really experimented with that type of object, so we would love to hear from, if you do decide to go down that road.
I am going to touch on that. That is one of the most powerful features of iBooks Authored. It is a specific format called Collada, but if you are working with 3D images and have them, they are tiny, tiny files, and you can embed them. If you take a look at, it's called, what's the chemistry one? The Elements. Thank you. The Elements, chemistry teacher said, the periodic chart of the elements is just this big, giant, flat piece of paper that he made all of his students memorize the first week of
That's
chemistry
what I
class.
did. I was a chemistry teacher.
I memorized
I did
it
it in my
myself.
own classroom, and my student was blown away.
The elements now, he said, none of those letters really made sense to most students until they saw what gold was or what helium was or some of the features or properties of those. So he put together an iBook called The Elements, and it's one of the most spectacular uses of 3D objects out there, just amazing. I think it would be incredibly amazing in the dentistry field, being able to see, because certainly live you're getting a mirror view of the back, but then interactively if they're looking at, hey, let me spin that tooth around so I can see what it's supposed to look like.
And then just one thing about videos. Videos was the other one that we said you're probably better off serving elsewhere because of the analytics. But just bear in mind too, the Indo video had several different slices. I forget how many, like 5 different slices of video embedded within it, and it just made the file balloon. So just be mindful of how large your file gets, especially if you're asking your students to do this in class over a PenNet. It can really slow things down. So
Okay, the next question. Once iBook is published and released to student, it can no longer be revised. And the answer is really obvious, is no. So you can always revise it and send a notification to your student and say, please go back to your iTunes Store and download it again. So you can get a newer version.
and they won't lose their notes.
So I think this is the last one.
Next to last.
Okay.
So in order to publish and share your iBook, what type of files should you select so that your content is accessible to faculty, staff, and students? That's kind of a gimme, but again, we just want to make sure your ears are open. And then the last one, we started off asking you, what your thoughts were about iBooks creation, and hopefully today we've been able to alter your perception. So we're curious to see what you think now.
That's from me.
Awesome. So you will, you will put labor into it, but what you get in return, I mean, you get, it pays back in dividends for sure.
And one thing that I want to add too that was mentioned, not everybody has someone to do it all for them, and to go to lynda.com. There's an incredible help section built right into iBooks Author. So, and it's all of Apple software. If you go right up to the whatever application you're in, to the help menu, it's built right in there. You can actually just type it in, how do I, and your query, and it'll take you right to that. So, you don't actually have to go take that 6-hour lynda.com course. Though it is, when we love lynda.com at Apple. They are fantastic, but we do build a lot of that help right in to help you out with that.
And I see someone who's a Google Classroom. We did try that, but there is no progression bar when student download the iBook. But it works because the files are not encrypted in Google Classroom. And with your Google Drive, it's almost unlimited space for you to upload your iBook.
Questions, thoughts, issues, problems, concerns, ideas, snag comments?
I think we would like to do a little hands-on workshop this summer.
I would love to come.
That would be really fun.
I haven't had a hard time twisting anybody's arm to come and do kind of things like that, and it really is fun.
Really, to have people bring some stuff and just start building.
And it's so easy. So I actually have kind of this nice little recipe. It's, hey, pick your subject matter, bring 5 images, bring a page full of text, bring 1 video, bring it on a thumb drive with your laptop.
Why don't we try that? I feel like once people touch it,
It's
it will
fun.
seem less scary.
It really is.